Hello. Hello, angels, baddies, and bitches. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber Akilla. We're in the business of being hot and having fun, cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. Follow me on all the things: Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud, Red Note. Subscribe to the podcast, Friend Crush with Amber Akilla. Subscribe to the Patreon for subscriber-only episodes and access to the group chat at Amber Akilla. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's episode is about love, understanding love, practicing love, how I understand and define and practice love. And this is an ongoing process. And, I always say it's not about being more like me, it's about being more like you and understanding your journey and embracing it as it unfolds. If you have been with me for a long time, you'll know that one of my favorite books is The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. I think his discussion of love is very profound and paradigm shifting. He defines love as the willingness to extend oneself for your own or another's spiritual growth. If you're not really into the word spiritual, I would say it's about being able to prioritize your best interests when it comes to self-love and being able to prioritize yours and another person's best interests as equally important. It's not about win-lose or lose-win. It's about win-win. And it takes effort and discipline to be able to understand yourself. What is a win situation for you? And to extend yourself to another person and hold their best interest as equally important as yours. What is a win for them? And sometimes it's compatible and it's great and we have mutually beneficial connections and relationships. And other times you realize that what is best for you and what's best for this other person are not compatible. And despite your attachment to being in each other's lives or the expectation that you'll be in each other's lives, you actually have to let go and you have to move away from each other. And this can oscillate back and forth, hopefully not with too much conflict, just for my personal preference. But love is the willingness to extend yourself for your best interest, towards your best interest, and to be able to hold someone else's best interest as equally important to your own. So in this definition, love is not something that only exists in a romantic context, okay? That is the romantic industrial complex psyoping you and conditioning you to make you believe that you are less than or you are incomplete without love from other people. But the reason why people say you can't love someone if you don't love yourself is because if you don't practice love towards you, if you don't prioritize your own best interests and you don't have a practice of understanding and working on this and developing this, you won't know how to identify it with other people, because everybody is going to be acting in their own best interest at the end of the day, whether that is true and authentic for them or not, or whether it's a conditioned version. But you can't climb into someone else's head and truly understand whether they're practicing love or not. You can only understand your own point of view. Give generously, contribute to the vibe, and then see and understand and reflect on the feedback that you get and adjust accordingly, okay? So love is not a hierarchy. Love can exist in all contexts: work, family, friendship, and romance, because I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing my best interest and whoever I'm encountering in any of these contexts, and ensuring that we're having win-win interactions, okay? So it's not about lust, it's not about romance, it's not about desire or all the things that are associated with romantic love. It is just your willingness to be able to prioritize your own and another person's best interest as equally important. And it's not just by doing this everything works out. It's a practice. Sometimes you need to negotiate. Sometimes there's going to be compromise. Sometimes you have to take an L in the short term to have a win in the long term. Sometimes you have a win in the short term and you take an L in the long term. The practice is what's important. Committing to the practice, committing to understanding, committing to reflecting, committing to redefining and evolving. That's the practice, because you're extending yourself. So this is part of human nature, the desire to connect with others, the desire to be seen, the desire to love and be loved. This is part of being a person. You're a social animal. You want to connect with others, but you've been conditioned to prioritize romantic love at the top as more important than love in any other context. And I would argue that this is fake news, okay? Because when you actually de-pedestal romance and you experience love and intimacy in other contexts, so friendship, romance, and even in work and community, you no longer experience that like sort of toxic sense of longing and limerence that comes with feeling like you're incomplete unless you experience romance. You know what I mean? So love is not a hierarchy. Instead of a hierarchy, it's more like being able to diversify the sources of love and connection that you experience. Okay, so you have self love, you have family, friendship, romance, work, community. And at different stages of your life, you will receive and have different levels or priorities around these different areas. It's always in motion and shifting, and you can, intentionally direct your efforts to different areas at different times according to whatever your overall hot and having fun definition is. Okay? And sometimes you have expectations that aren't met or standards that you need to readjust, and that's just part of the process. Okay? So love is not just about how you feel, but in the context of romance, romance usually involves sexual intimacy, long-term commitment, excuse the construction, lust, desire. So it's not that if you don't have romantic love, you don't have love at all. You just might have love in other areas of your life that you can focus on instead. And everyone's different. Like maybe there are some people who prioritize romantic love over everything else, or that's their journey in life. I can't decide that for you. You can only better understand that for yourself. But my point is, you are not at a lack of love just because you are not in a romantic relationship. You can experience intimacy and connection in contexts outside of romance. And I think those are really important like aspects of your life to nurture. And especially the disconnect between men and women, I think, is that men are conditioned to only associate physical intimacy with love. They don't feel loved unless it's through physical intimacy. And because they're so emotionally repressed via patriarchal conditioning and not being able to integrate positive and negative emotions, if you are capable of being empathetic and emotionally intimate with a man without being attracted to him, that's very confusing, okay? Because to them, emotional intimacy is a precursor to physical intimacy. And for some women, they also are conditioned in this way too, or have this kind of confusion. So I'm not saying that it's like a completely gendered thing. It just tends to skew towards men being confused about that. Okay, so how do we understand love in the context of being hot and having fun? Say this is me, and this is my comfort zone. Okay, this is how I currently define myself. Loving myself is the willingness to extend myself towards a version of me that I am like working towards, okay? Something that's my best interest. So, for example, if I want to be healthy, I want to improve my health, that might involve my diet, exercise, sleep hygiene, social media hygiene. I'm sorry, I literally like think in Chinglish now, so my English is like regressing. What are the things that I have to do to be hot and have fun in this context, okay? So my willingness to extend myself in committing to the practices that would allow me to, be a healthier version of me is a form of self-love, okay? Same thing if it was like work or friendship, being kinder to myself is a form of self-love because I'm extending myself, I'm committing, and I'm taking action and not just saying, I love myself. Oh, I'm so pretty. I'm so, like, okay, that's part of it, but you need to actually do things. You need to treat yourself. Your action towards yourself needs to be loving as well. That's part of being hot and having fun, okay? So I'm extending myself here. If I'm in a relationship or a connection with another person, there's me and this is another person. We both have our own realities, okay? And your willingness to extend yourself towards each other, and you basically create a third reality here, okay? That's what love as an action, in my opinion, is. Please excuse the construction in the background. This is like love from a place of abundance. Love, which is actually just attachment, is like, this is me, I'm a half, and this person is another half, and together we make one whole. That's not abundant, okay? That's like a scarcity mindset, and this is what results in 50-50 behavior and 50-50 thinking. I believe that 1 + 1 = 3, okay? In maths, 1 + 1 = 2, but in the universe, 1 + 1 = 3. Because if both of us are doing our best and we're both extending ourselves towards each other and we want to hold each other's best interests as equally important, then whatever this is, the potential for this third thing is like unlimited, okay? But if I have a scarcity mindset and I'm just thinking I'm 50%, you're 50%, together we make 100%, nothing's actually changed. We haven't created anything new. We haven't extended ourselves towards each other. I'm only doing things because I want something from you. You're only doing things because you want something from me. But I'm doing things for myself and for us. You're doing things for yourself and for us. And then this third reality expands, you know, and this can exist in work, love, friendship, family. And this can exist in work, love, friendship, and family, okay? And when you notice that you extend yourself towards someone and they don't, that's important information, okay? You're going this way and they're just cutting themselves off at 50. Redirect your energy towards something else, okay? Now you have an ecosystem of love, being hot and having fun. That's how you enforce boundaries, okay? Because you're extending yourself towards a person, and then how they respond to your offering is what determines whether you continue or not. You can't in your head only have standards and say like, oh, I'm not going for this, I'm not going for that. It's actually easier to just show up authentically and want to share love, you know, because you know that you can continue to generate self-love through the practices that you have around your health, your work, your friendships, your family, you know, and for everyone, it's different. When you realize that someone, even in your family situation, is not willing to extend themselves towards you for, or able to hold your best interest as equally important to their own, then you know not to emotionally invest in that relationship. You might have to keep it on a superficial level, but you can withdraw your energy from it and then channel it into other areas that are more important. And that was such a radical part of me being able to understand love, is that just because someone says they love you, just because in this particular dynamic, love is quote unquote supposed to exist, if it doesn't exist, that's okay. That's information that I need in order to better understand where I can be intentional with where my energy goes, you know, and towards what. And if I don't have anything around me, focusing on myself means that I have a better understanding of how I show up, and then a better understanding of what I am or are not compatible with. So this is why I always think of the win-win dynamic, okay? All relationships are transactional in the sense that they involve an exchange. It can be win-win, it can be win-lose, it can be lose-win, and it can be lose-lose. You need to assess the nature of the dynamic that you're in and whether you can work towards win-win, because being in a win-win situation is what being hot and having fun is all about. Okay. And sometimes you encounter these situations too, but you want to ensure that you're always working towards this, right? So, for example, a win-win situation in a romantic relationship, for example, is like, I want to go on dates twice a week. My partner wants to go on dates 3 times a week. Win-win is us saying, okay, this week we're going to go on 2 dates. Next week we'll go on 3 dates and we'll figure it out from there. Okay, it's a win-win situation. I want to go for Japanese food. He wants to go for Italian food. This week we'll go for Japanese food. Next week we'll go for Italian food. Win lose, we go to Japanese food, we never go to Italian food. Lose win, we only get Italian food, we never get Japanese food. Lose lose, we eat Greek food. We eat nothing. So it takes effort to find that win-win scenario, okay? It's not just by default, and to assume that it has to be by default is delusion and lazy and entitled. Sorry. The same with work. Ask not what you can do for capitalism, ask what capitalism can do for you, okay? And every person's relationship with their career and their job is going to be different. But for example, like sometimes I'm in situations where the client wants me to be in a lose-win situation. They want the lowest price possible for the highest number of deliverables. In order for me to negotiate into a win-win situation, I can say, well, I'm willing to do these deliverables at this level or in this timeline for this price. If you want extra, it costs this much. Where are you able to work around this? And then we find a win-win, okay? It's not like I have to be paid what I want and they don't get anything, or I have to do everything they want and I don't get the money that I feel I deserve for the work. But it's a constant like oscillation between these things. With a friendship, it might be, I only want to talk to my friends when we're making a plan and we're going to hang out, because I don't have as much free time during the week. My friend wants to hang out all the time, but our schedules are not compatible. So our win-win is like, okay, we set a time this week to hang out. In between, we can have some communication, but my friend also goes and hangs out with other people that are more available. I focus on my work so that when we come together, we can be intentional with the time we spend together, rather than you need to do this for me, I need to do that for you, you know? So like life is being able to navigate all the areas that you might need to compromise in order to get to win-win. How am I extending myself and making an effort to ensure that both of our best interests are being met? And you don't have to be so dogmatic about it, but you just need to have an awareness of what it is you're trying to work towards. And that's what love is. That's what being hot and having fun is about. It's not just how you feel. It's not just lust. It's not just desire. And some people are still caught up in the confusion around these things, and that's okay. But I would do my best to embrace this journey, okay? And then an aside that I wanted to mention is like, when you have romantic feelings or desire towards someone, you can love someone and have that and still realize that you're not necessarily compatible for a romantic relationship. Like recognizing that on a human level, just being around someone a lot can mean that you develop feelings for that person that come from the familiarity and the proximity and not the compatibility, okay? So this is why a lot of people end up in relationships with people that they work with, because they see them at the office every day and there's this level of familiarity. They're actually spending more time with the person at work than the person that they're in a relationship with. But that doesn't mean that because you get along in a work context at the office that you're automatically compatible in a romantic relationship. Because the lifestyles that you live outside of the office might be completely different. The trajectory of your lives and the direction that you want to go in might be completely different. So I think giving yourself grace when you find yourself developing attachments or feelings towards people that you might not be compatible with, and then also embracing it when you develop feelings for people that you are compatible with. You know, being hot and having fun is also having goals that you want to work towards that are more important than just being in a relationship. But for some people, being in a relationship is really important to them, so maybe you can center that in your life if you want. I don't know, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm not going to entertain a relationship that's not compatible just for the sake of being in one to someone else's detriment if they want more from me than I'm willing to give. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't expect someone to give me what I want against what they want either, because I believe in win-win. and I believe in extending ourselves towards each other in a mutually beneficial way. And I believe in holding each other's best interests as equally important to our own best interests, you know? And that's not always easy. Sometimes you have to cut people off because your best interests and what they want out of you not in alignment, okay? And the space will help you to determine whether you're going to be compatible again in the future or not. Hard to say, and there's no way to know exactly. But yeah, I don't think that love is a hierarchy. I feel like romantic love is just one form of connection. For some people, it holds more weight than others, but I feel like if you intentionally nurture other areas where love can exist, between you and yourself, you and your friends, you and your community, you and your work, you will naturally develop a sense of fulfillment that is different to fulfillment that comes when you only focus on romance. Like, you will still feel like a sense of lack because you've put all your eggs in one basket, and you probably put your own needs and your own desires to the side to service this romantic relationship, because you think if you don't, you will be worthless, which is never the case. Like, you're going to face pain in life whether you like it or not, actually. Like, in your work, in your friendships, in your family, in your love life, there is no escape. There is only walking through the fire, doing your best. Okay, anyway, my phone ran out of storage and I'm losing my voice. So those are just my thoughts. Love is not a hierarchy. Love is the ability to extend yourself for your own spiritual growth, for another person's spiritual growth, mutually beneficial, win-win situation. My best interests are as important as your best interests. And sometimes just stepping back a little bit when we realize that they're not compatible, even if it's just for temporary, is what will nurture a long-term healthy connection, okay? Not just attachment to expectations. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought. Follow me on all the things. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the Patreon. Stay hot and having fun. Drink lots of water. Tell your friends and family that you love them. Love you lots. Speak to you soon.